Well, today I'm going to be talking about geometry shapes. Well, in life we have a lot of things that has in different shapes, right? Well, they all have their own names. Each shapes have different names. Well, now let's see some geometry shapes that you need to know in your life. First, let's start with circle. It's pretty was easy, right? Well, circle. Look around your room. Can you see anything that looks circle? Looks like a circle? Absolutely. Kind of like your clock? Or maybe the mirror's face? I can see here. Oh, there's a box. That has the top as a circle. There's pictures. That looks like a circle. Well, circle is a shape that have no angles, no lines, no sides, no corners. It's just a perfect thing that doesn't need any lines. It's just all round together. Then we have, a shape that is not perfectly circle. Then it wouldn't be a circle if it's not perfectly round. Well, now if you look at here on my painting apps, I don't know if you can see it. Okay, well now I'm going to draw, a circle. Can you draw a perfect circle without using any devices? Now I'm just going to draw a circle by myself. I'm sorry, there's some mistakes here. I will choose. There we go. Now, let's draw a circle. Well, a circle needs to be perfectly round. Sometimes when drawing on paper, it wouldn't be perfectly round. Well, when I'm drawing on the app, it looks just kind of like, worse. It's not a perfect circle because it's not perfectly round. It just kind of like this a little bit, sharp. It doesn't look really smoothly like a circle. Well, now I use, the thing here. It'll look better a little bit. There we go. Sorry. There we go. I have here. It's a circle. It's perfectly round. It's perfectly round. It's not sharp or anything else. It doesn't have any lines or corners. It's just perfect size. Yeah, so you can see that circles need to be perfectly round. Next is cube. Well, remember, we are learning on shapes that are first is two-dimensional shapes. They're shapes that flatten. Usually you see them on papers, and the 3D shapes are usually you see 3D shapes are the words that used to describe or always objects because usually it will be 3Ds more than 2Ds. Well, cube. Do you have a Rubik? Sometimes we'll call them a Rubik cube. Well, cube is a shape that is perfectly. It have 6 sides, and all of sides looks like a square. No of its sides looks like our shapes. None of it looks like a cylinder, looks like a circle, an oval, or any shape else. It just is square sides all over. Then we call it cube. Well, it's pretty hard for us to draw cubes on papers, but if we can, it will be perfectly beautiful. Let me see. Now I'm just going to try to draw with my breath. Maybe I should draw the most beautiful one. I'm just going to copy this using. Okay, I know the way of doing this. Oh no, I'm just gonna copy these pictures. There we go. Now we'll have these two parts. There we go. We have a cube. This is not perfectly cute, but it really was awful. Can you draw a cube for me? It doesn't need to be this perfectly shaped, but you can just try to draw the one that looks best like a cube. That is okay. It doesn't need to be a perfectly shaped like ours. But just draw. Can you see that it looks okay and looks like a real cube? Then I'm gonna accept that cube. But my cube can be never accepted by somebody else, especially my math teachers. Well, next is oval. Now, if you have a circle, right? You pull it over there, you stretch it out there, or stretch it up there, then you would have an oval. An oval is a shape that's not perfectly a circle, but it will be a little bit longer or bigger than a circle. It's really easy to draw oval. It doesn't need to be perfectly round, but all the sides can't be sharp. It can just be smooth like a circle. There we go. It's an oval shape. Okay. Can you draw an oval? There's usually mirrors that looks like ovals, mirrors, or my lamp. There's nothing else. I'm staying in my bedroom, so there's not usually a lot of objects. Well, next we'll have is a parallelogram. Well, this is a word that used to say kind of like all of the things that, parallelogram can come in, any size. It can be long or, big. But, you know what? There's one thing that can't be accepted while drawing a parallelogram. Do you know lines? Yes, that's right. Lines that are always the same each other, they go one way and they never meet each other's. Well, parallelogram is made out of two couples of that two lines. Of those two parallel lines. That's pretty hard to understand. But just think, if we have here I'm sorry. There we go. If we have this here, this is a parallelogram. It goes forever. It goes forever. But it never can meet each other. It will never meet each other's until, until if this is another kind of line, then, would be different. But those two lines can never meet each other, and it's drawn from those two lines. Well, you remembered that parallelogram can be drawn by any lines that are long or big, but can never meet each other. Usually, it will be different than a rectangle. Always have like a rectangle that's a little bit like this left. Yes, not straight, but just think of that. Next is pentagon. Pentagon is a shape that has 5 sides. It's pentagons. Well, penta means 5. Pentagon is a shape that always has 5 sides, 5 corners, 5 angles. Remember like that. Just remember the prefix penta. Penta means 5. What that means is a shape that just has 5 sides, 5 corners, and 5 angles. Yeah, that's just the perfect way of remembering those pentagons. Next is octagon. Octa. Well, octa is a word that means, it's 9. Well, an octagon is a shape that always has One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. Eight. You know, 8 sides. Remembered? Well, it's octagon. It's a shape that have 8 sides. Usually, when you see an octagon outside, it will be some signs added. The other sides. Sometimes you see the side that look like an octagon. Looking at this reminds me of some traffic signs. But you know what? It's a shape that looks like that size. Next is cylinder. We're coming again to three-dimensional shapes. Well, cylinder is a shape that is perfectly different from others. Well, cylinder is a shape that you have two tops and bottoms are circles, and on the other side are smooth spots. So you can see. You can usually see cylinders as if toilet papers that looks like cylinders, or some box that will probably look like cylinders, or maybe some cups also looks like cylinders. Their two tops are just kind of like pretty round, and their sides around here is pretty smooth out. They don't have the shape on those sides. That's cylinder. Next is pyramid. Well, think pyramid is the name of a pyramid outside the ocean plate. Well, pyramid is a shape that has its top sides as triangles, and its bottom side is usually look like a square, or sometimes it will look like a rectangle. Yeah, but that's pyramid. It's usually for some topping ups. You can think of those pyramids to remember this word. Okay, for our next one is prism. Well, prism is a shape that has its sides as rectangles, and its top and bottoms are usually triangles. It's prism. Okay, prism. Remember, S and M makes the sound. Well, prism, prism. Okay. Next is square. Oh, it's too easy for you to understand the word square, right? Can you draw square? I think you can, of course. I don't think that you can't. Okay. There we go. You're gonna see my perfect drawing here. As a square. Oh, do you love it? Thanks. I know you love it. But thanks, and if you can draw a shape that's much more beautiful than mine, and congratulations. You're really great at it. Okay, next is star. Usually stars would look like 5 tops corners here, but you know what? Stars can be really different. Like, some stars have more than just five, five things around, but sometimes they'll have a lot. Like this shape. Ew. This is not a star. Actually, this is kind of like a puddle of something. I'm just gonna redraw my star. There we go. Yeah, it looks like a maple tree leaf. But don't worry, it's just beautiful. Next is spear. This is a two-dimensional shape. This is alright if we're just looking one apart. It looks like a circle. But just think that spear is just kind of like the whole big earth, or some other planet at the sun, the moon. But remember, the spear needs to be perfectly smooth all on its body. It can just be called spear when it looks like that. Next is triangle. Tries is a word that's saying, a shape that have. A thing that have 3 things. Well, angle. Well, 3 angles is the shape. This shape always has 3 angles. It can be different like this. Oops, sorry. Let me draw a much more perfect shape. Like this shape. Or it can become into this shape. Or it can also become into this shape. Well, all of them, when they all appear, they remember they need to have 3 angles. Here, remember, these parts are my angles. They always need to be angles here. They always need to have angles on those triangles. That's why people call it triangles. If it doesn't have enough 3 triangles, it's another shape. Next is cone. Cone, usually when you're eating an ice cream, you'll have a cone, right? Or, sometimes, I don't know what. Cone, absolutely. When you're maybe wearing a birthday hat, you have it looks like a cone. Next is rectangle. It's just the same as triangle. Rect means 4. Angle means, the corners around. Well, this shape, when it comes on side, it needs to be 4 angles. Well, maybe in school you have learned triangles before, but you didn't know that, and the teachers didn't tell you that rectangle is square, but square isn't rectangle. Square is a shape that needs to have perfectly sides that looks the same size. It can't be this size longer, this size shorter, but rectangles can. This side can maybe be longer, and these sides can be longer. But the square and the rectangle, they both have 4 angles. The same as the rectangle, they both have 4 sides. It doesn't matter the size of the rectangle. Well, remember, the square always needs to have perfectly 4 sides that are perfectly the same as each other. Well, that's a way to think square and rectangle are different shapes. Well, don't tell this in front of your teacher, or maybe your teacher will be pretty angry about this. But just think that this was another thing that I've learned from some math producers. Yeah, that was really awesome. Well, next is rhombus. Rhombus is a shape that looks pretty like a square, right? But it's not. It's different. Rhombus sometimes can also be called as a square. It looks like this. It's also a rhombus. Rhombus, just think of kind of like a diamond shape. Looks like this. This is rhombus, the most common rhombus. Or the rhombus can be just like, the shape on the pictures here I'm showing you. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait me a little bit. Let me just go and draw. Let me just gonna draw the things. There we go. So, this is the most usual rhombus. Okay, just think it looks like a diamond. It can be like this too. Or it can also be like this. A really small rhombus, right? But it's also a rhombus. Well, usually you see this shape as a star or a fractures, right? It looks pretty cute, but it's not a rhombus. The rhombus needs to have sides that perfectly, lines. It can't be corners like this shape. No, it can't. Well, just things like that. If we have this, no, we can't accept this. We'll need a shape that looks like this. Okay? So that's rhombus. Next is crescent. Look at the sky up. Sometimes you can see the moons. It looks like a crescent. Okay? The last shape here we have is trapezoid. Well, that's all today. Geometry shapes have so many shapes, right? You can't even count all of them, because when just drawing something, you absolutely know that if you just have a small thing like it, from circle with draw it not rounding all over, then you have an oval. If you're drawing not exactly true from a pentagon, maybe you can draw an octagon with not incorrect signs. Or if you're missing an angle from a rectangle, you can just translate it into triangle. And if you don't place it in the correct place, understand it? Maybe you'll be mixed up by the rectangle, the square, or the rhombus and the square. Well, you know shapes. There's thousands of shapes in the world that you need to understand more in your life. Well, see you next time.